where I find the most joy is script writing. That's where I get to have fun in the dialogue. That's where I get to create the scene and play with it. And it's just like my own to myself for that 5 to 10 days or whatever days that I'm given. I don't need 5 to 10 days. But it's like, that is where I find like the moment where I go, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I should have always been doing. I'm Emilia Serrano. I'm a TV and film writer. I've worked on comedies, dramedies, and dramas, shows like High School Musical, the musical on Disney+, Mixed-ish on ABC, Crystal on ABC, Promised Land on too many ABCs, Boomerang, and most recently a show called Madonna's of Echo Park. When I go into that writing room and we're sitting around, we're kicking around ideas, to me, it really is like kicking a soccer ball to other people. It's like we're all there trying to make a goal, and the goal really is to like get the idea on the board, get the idea that our boss, also called the showrunner, likes, get the idea to where ABC's like, I love this idea. And really, like, the collaborative spirit of it is probably my most favorite thing. And since we do it around 6 to 8 hours a day, a great room that really plays with an idea so much, the day goes by so fast. It doesn't even feel like work. The thing about a writer's room that people don't realize is there's very little writing. There's very little writing in a writer's room. Imagine yourself getting a job and you're like, oh my God, I have this writing job. This is the best thing ever. I've always wanted to be a writer. And then go into an atmosphere where there's very little writing. It can be kind of jarring to people. And here's where the storytelling aspect of it comes into play. Like the thinking on your feet comes into play, is where we spend weeks at a time really just playing with ideas, kicking around jokes if it's a comedy, kicking around maybe if it's a procedural murder mystery, you know, what like the pieces or the story beats are to that piece of it. And then we really just talk about it. I mean, literally just talk about it all day. In between talking about lunch for an hour and then talking about what we're going to do for the weekend and then talking about other things, we kind of like go in and out of our personal lives, because what you really realize is that coming up with the ideas for the shows and the ideas for that episode is always inspired by something that somebody said in the room or something that happened to somebody over the weekend or in their lives. And really, like, that's the piece of it that we kind of just like mold together as a team. And then if we kind of all feel that it's right, kind of like when you go to a show and like everybody's laughing at that same part in the movie, or you're watching stand up and you're like, everybody's laughing, you're like, that makes it to the board. And the board is where all the story lives. So it's kind of a little bit of a map that we all follow. And there's a writer assistant that takes notes. There's somebody that like puts the ideas on the board for us to follow. And when the board is kind of filled out, whether it's a 3-act structure or a 6-act structure or a 7-act structure sometimes now, because now we have to put in more commercials than anything, and we go, it's ready. Then the writer of that episode goes to write the outline, and that writer, it's their episode, and they're basically the people that like shepherd it from taking it off the board into outline, into the draft, and then taking it all the way to the shooting script. So when you see something on TV and it says written by Emilia Serrano, my hand seems to be heavier in it, but it really, everybody's hands were in it in that writer's room. The thing that keeps the job interesting for me when I go into a writer's room is that there is always a problem to solve. And the problem is the story to solve. Sometimes it's literally a problem to solve. Like when I worked on procedural shows like Rizzoli and Isles or The Finder or Promised Land had a big mystery component. So it's literally a problem to solve. It's like, oh my, who killed that person? How are we going to hide, the gun somewhere, or, wait till the 6th act? And sometimes the problem is we are in our 4th episode. We need to now move this relationship forward. How do we move this relationship forward? How do we make it interesting? Seems to be the audience loves these 2 people more than these other 2 people. And so I'll give you a great example. Will and Grace. Will and Grace is literally called Will and Grace. We know what the show's about. It's about Will and Grace. But at some point, Karen and Jack, people started loving Karen and Jack. And if you watch that first season, you could feel the writers really starting to integrate them as also the 4 leads, even though the show is called Will and Grace. And a lot of times when I'm watching something, I can tell where the note was. I can see it happen, where maybe the executives say, you know what we're hearing from people want to see more Jack. And then all of a sudden you see more Jack. Big Bang Theory is a great example. Big Bang Theory, one of my favorite shows, started off, you can kind of feel that the show is an ensemble, and the ensemble is like Friends. Everybody kind of has an equal strength for that show. But then all of a sudden we got into Sheldon a lot. Well, obviously now there's 2 spinoffs, right? But you can feel when that started happening, where someone came in the room and said, we need to have more Sheldon. So the problem in that room, probably in that moment, was how do we have more Sheldon, but also not lose the rest of our characters? And sometimes storytelling is kind of a problem like that, where it is really finding the balance of who you're writing about with a little bit of what you really are passionate about to pitch, which is also then a note from the network. And all of that is kind of taken into consideration as you're doing it. No day is exactly the same. I mean, no lunch is exactly the same, at least if I'm in charge of it. I mean, on a given day, if we were to start day 1, episode 1, episode 2, whatever episode you want to say, Monday we would start. By 2 weeks, it should come off the board, as we call it. So you start day 1, you say, this is the episode, this is the theme, this is where we need to go. That first week is just all pitching. There really are no bad ideas, but sometimes people pitch things and I go, that's stupid. You didn't know in your heart that was stupid? Like, you should know in your heart that that was stupid. And then by the first week, we kind of got it moving. By the end of the second week, really the first week you should try to get it off the board. Sometimes you need more time. Again, if you get notes, if there's a change, if there's something that happens, maybe an episode before it, or you're moving to an episode towards it, you have to kind of adjust. And then that's when, again, you take it off the board. That writer goes to write the outline. Normally that outline is 2 pages per act, maybe 3 pages per act. Every boss wants a different kind of number page. An outline really is kind of a book report of that episode. And that is not just an important piece that people need to learn how to write, but it is a document that you get compensated on. So if you're not great at writing the outline, it's going to be a problem. That outline goes to the boss, takes notes, goes to the network. That's when they read it based on that and say, we love it, go off on script. So that's a really kind of famous phrase when someone says, go off on script. I always like to say, go off on script, because it's where I find the most joy is script writing. The less enjoyable part about being a TV writer is waiting for a TV job. It's the worst. You think, again, sometimes I've waited nothing. Sometimes I've waited weeks. Sometimes I've waited months. I write feature films too, so I'm always writing. But I think that it really tends to be the thing that we call each other about the most is, I haven't had a meeting. I haven't had a call. I haven't had a new script. I don't know what it is. That's the stressful piece of it. Really, you're a freelancer. You work for yourself. You are your own corporation. You are your own boss. No one is going to give you a bonus, a deadline, a schedule, tell you how much to save, tell you how much to pay. And there's a lot of self-management that is, I think, an important piece of being successful as a writer, but it's not a piece that comes naturally to a lot of people. tends to be a couple similar traits within TV writing. TV writers tend to like talking to other people. They tend to like a collaborative dynamic, kind of a team atmosphere. You know, they don't mind being around a lot of people. That seems to be something that you tend to find a lot of times in a writer's room. I've had this conversation about writers a lot, and one of them we say, would you rather have a good writer with a great personality or a great writer with a bad personality? And we always choose the good writer with the great personality. Everyone's going to be rewritten. Everyone is. Even the best person will get noted from the network and will have to rewrite themselves. So you really can't say a script has to be perfect. I never look at a script as perfect. I do not care if there's typos. We are writers. We are not proofreaders. I just think, what's the story? Can this person tell a good story? That's the thing that grabs me. I tend to find movie writers to be a lot more reserved, a lot more, maybe they like to be more isolated. I do love writing movies because they have an ending, but it really is a much lonelier experience. You're not kicking an idea around with other people every day. You're not joking. You're not having lunch together. You're not gossiping. You're not talking crap about like, why did that movie win an Oscar? I don't get it. I don't get why Barbie won, but it's fine. But it's, you get to have that kind of daily thing versus a movie writer has none of that and is happy to have none of that. The one thing that I think people forget about when they want to write for TV is to watch TV. A lot of people will say, oh, I don't watch TV. I'm sorry, what? It's like a chef being like, I don't eat. Like, we can't do that. If you find yourself saying, I would never watch that, you're not a writer. You're not a TV writer. It's the discipline of watching TV. It's also fun to just be like, watching TV is my job. Who's gonna argue with you about that? It's your job. I mean, I wish I was a baker and be like, eating cookies is what I get paid to do. I think if somebody wants to try to be a TV writer, this is not a very popular opinion. I would say don't be a writer's assistant. So I'll tell you what I think you shouldn't do. You shouldn't be a writer's assistant. A lot of times people will always see you as that. When I was in advertising, I started out as a receptionist, and when I wanted to be a copywriter. And the creative director at one point, I said, when I became a junior copywriter, he said, the problem is that some people still see you as a receptionist. And so I think that's what I would not do. What I would do, though, is write. Not just write, but learn how to write. Find the people who are starting out as you, who are kind of like-minded in a way so that you can share each other's script. The misconception is that you start out and you go, I need to find Issa Rae. And if Issa Rae reads my script, no. Issa Rae started out with working with people together. They were all scrappy and they all came up together. And like that ends up kind of being your crew. So that's why, again, I say to be successful, move to LA. You will naturally find your crew, your writing group, the people you trust to read your stuff that says, this sucks, don't do that, or this is great, you really should hold on tight to it. That kind of trust is really important. That to me is like the good foundation to try to be a writer. And then I would say keep on writing so that when somebody asks you, when someone says, can I read your script? You want to have a script. You want to have 2 scripts. It'd be great if you had 3 scripts, but you want to have something so that you don't go, maybe in 6 months, they're over you. They're off it. Because to them, there is a little bit of when we say we really care about a writer and want to help them and, remove obstacles that we can for them, we don't want to waste our time. So if we know that you have the thing, but then all of a sudden that discipline piece is missing, well, now we've moved on for you. So that's the part that I say, always have something ready, always start working on something. and don't believe in writer's block, so that if you do need to write something for when they ask, you could have it ready quickly. I'm going to tell you something that someone told me when I sent my script to them and they didn't sign me. They said, Emilia, I don't think this is the script, but I think it's going to be your third script, which meant you should keep writing, right? You need more experience in writing, so keep writing, but it's here, but you're going to get there. And I went, oh, okay, well, that's encouraging, but also, okay, that sucks. It's rejection, right? You don't like it. But he said the thing that I hold so close to my heart to this day. He said, it's 1,000,000 to 1 that you're going to make it in this town, but it happens every day.